Already, Tracy, we challenged Blacksite loud military headshots hitting UI and explosive revenge. So it's gonna be Blacksite with well, explosive revenge, and that's really not that great for trying to not get blown up by them, because if one explosive would have flanked another explosive, since this explosive revenge is not flashbangs, which means that we're more likely to get, well, two at the exact same time, then, well, the second explosive that was flung might very, very well be, well, very, very close to blowing up, and that's maybe not the best way of trying to stay alive. Because if that were the case, then, well, it would blow up in front of us with barely any time, and that's maybe not exactly the equation for success. So as we step over here and try and clear the units over there, not, well, die by the two explosives over there, which thankfully are not going to fling right in front of us, as that's a perfect demonstration over there. We're just going to run through here, and for some reason the units are going to be really, really aggressive, and, well, I'm going to get shot a lot of times, which is not all that great, but hopefully things go well, because that's kind of what we want, so let's try and keep it that way. So as we wait over here, grab a mech over here, and then go through here, hopefully for the most part that, well, things will go well, because aside from that, there's military headshots and hitting UI, and quite simply, ideally, it's not military headshots, since, well, that will make the guards much easier to take care of, rather than, well, just having the units be a lot more. Well, the units still become a lot more challenging, since we can't really miss. And if we start missing, even if we fire, let's just say, 30 bullets, it's still not going to go well. And then finally, there's still, well, hitting UI, and that's genuinely not that great, because ideally we'd be able to just exchange information and, well, anything that we could possibly ever need, which, in this case, it's going to be a lot harder, since we can't just see where everything is, which is generally how we do things over here. So ideally we'd be able to see what, well, each of us have in medkits in terms of ammunition and everything, but if it's in a UI, we basically can't see that. As for managing health, though, that's, well, insignificant if that isn't already obvious, but we'll just go through here, because I do not want to deal with those guards over there, and then we'll just go over here and meet Rose over here, which I suppose is perfectly valid. As we listen to the very, very much questionable bullets that are flying past somewhere else, which, so far, not very promising, but we'll just wait over here. And maybe, just maybe, we're gonna get a medkit somewhere over here, which, if Rose could do a slightly better job, that would be genuinely fantastic, but for the most part, it doesn't really matter to us. So as we wait over here, we're just going to keep on waiting, and, well, we're gonna go through here, which, thankfully, all of them are shotgunners, and, well, aren't really all that fond of trying to, well, win a gunfight from all the way across over there, which, if those were CBRCs, then things would be a largely different story, and that's not really what we want, but we're just gonna go over here, and we're just gonna defend over here. And right now, genuinely, getting blown up is a lot more terrifying than just, well, having bullets fly towards us and dying, well, from getting shot. And all in all, not really all that fond of those units rushing us up here, but more importantly, not really all that fond of that, well, flashbang having even a tiny minute chance of flinging a flashbang all the way over here, and then afterwards that flashbang being 1 second away from detonating, which doesn't really give all that much time to actually respond or react to it, even though that's kind of what's the most important thing over here. So ideally we'd be able to respond and react to it, but that's, the intention was to, well, crouch, not stand upright and get shot from every single unit over there by just being completely exposed, but I suppose it's valid. And since there's only one explosive, we won't really have to worry all that much. And because it's, well, once again, more explosive flashbangs, we're not gonna have an explosive from explosive revenge, and then another explosive from explosive flashbangs fly all the way over here and then subsequently get flung, which would be a far worse combination, but we'll just clear the units over there. And then all in all, we're just gonna try and hopefully not die, which seems a bit like a given, but we're gonna almost get shot over there, which is genuinely not gonna happen, which is genuinely great. So as we take off those units and ignore that floating CBRC over there, we're just going to Hi there, folks. Not really what I'm here for, but sure. So that's genuinely not that great, but we're just gonna try and keep things generally quite nice, since that's kind of what's important over here, as we need even more units over there, which is kind of not what we want, but I suppose we can most definitely make do with, so. Hi there, you. And of course you have a flashbang for us, which is genuinely quite insulting, but I suppose we can make do with that, so. Since we did actually get a make it over there, we're just gonna quickly grab that over there, and then, well, hopefully, we're gonna just not meet any more units over here, which is kind of what we want, and hi there. Now we're gonna finish. Right then, sure. So as we clear the units over there and wait for that to almost be complete over there, there's gonna be a make it over there, which we are, oh, very, very much tempted to get, even though we don't actually need it all that much. We're just going to not get it because right now seems like a really, really bad time. Considering that there are more units over there, which are not really what we want, but I suppose we can most definitely make do with that. Hi there. Let's clear those units before we go through here and then hopefully not get shot, which, if it isn't already evident, so far is thankfully actually happening. But we'll go through here, and so far we haven't met any units, which is kind of what we want, and then, well, we'll reach this over here, we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna, well, grab the demolition charge over here, which afterwards we're just gonna grab a lot of saw blades because it's free ammunition, and all in all, try and hopefully, first of all, not get blown up, and then secondly, heal up, because, well, I suppose we can, and that's really the only reason, so we'll grab those mechas over here, we're gonna go through here, and then hopefully, we're not gonna meet any juggernauts along the way, which I'm just gonna run past here and hope for the best, which is maybe not the best way of doing things, but so far it's working, and well, that's generally considered a good thing, so we're gonna grab this mech that we really, really do not need, but then again, if we don't grab it right now, it's gonna be much, much worse later on, since we're all gonna be over there, and we're all gonna be trying to hold off the same units, which are all going to be past the mech that we're trying to get, which is genuinely not all that great for trying to, well, grab a mech that we really, really do not need at this point, so we're still gonna grab it. There's not really any rationale not to. So we're just gonna wait up here, and Melrose is going to, well, I'm gonna back off. That's not really a gunfight I would like to get into, so nor is that one, but we're just gonna go over here, and then we're just gonna wait over here, and then we'll slowly grab even more ammunition that we really, really do not need, and we frankly don't really want, but hi there. I suppose one thing that we can do is just, right then, if Cyber's gonna be over there, we're just going to be over here, and well, we've got a Juggernaut over there, which does give us some solid ammunition that we very, very much cannot access, which is quite bluntly quite insulting, but hopefully for the most part things go. I'm gonna back off over there. I'm hopping out of here, and I'm healing up over here, so maybe that method wasn't all that useless after all, but it's still not really all that useful because it's still not we can make it, and it's not like we can use it later on while trying to run out of here, which would kind of be its main utility, which we don't really actually have, but for the most part, I'm just gonna avoid that route since there are a bunch of very, very angry units over there that I really, really do not want to actually anger, and then afterwards we're just gonna go over here, miss horrendously because it's mandatory hit shots, and then afterwards take care of those units over there, which, if we could just quickly resolve over there, that would be quite nice, but before that, we'll do this, we'll heal up, so I'm just gonna run out through there, and I'm gonna run out, well, in front of Rose, because I don't really, well, fancy getting shot over there, which I suppose if Rose wants to get left behind, that's perfectly fine, but regardless, that's the daily challenge in just over 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Cheers everyone, have a great time!